People who've befriended the quiet kid in school. What things did you wish your other classmates knew about them? He was sitting on a rock at school by himself. I said if I see him there again I'm gonna tell him he can't. He's gotta come hang out with us cause I didn't want to see him by himself anymore. He didn't have to talk to us if he didn't want to. I wasn't going to let him be a target to anyone. He integrated into our group nicely and quick. We all joked that because he's quiet he'll murder someone, mostly being me for making him be social, and he ran with the joke. His social skills weren't on par with the rest of us. One day we both got to school early and we sat down where our group hung out together, and he turned around and told me his dad went to jail the night before. His father had been belting his mother for a few years and I think it stunted a lot of his social skills. We've been best mates for the past 15 years now. He's often the life of the party when we all catch up. I'm very proud of him. Dang dude. He was very lucky to have you. Source: someone who wasn't as lucky. That she was always so helpful, so sweet and so talented. Poor girl died because of a brain tumor when she was in her teens. I befriended her in junior high when she was diagnosed. Oh god, this reminded me of this girl Haley from high school. Super sweet, positive, and caring, but she clearly had something medical going on and she just disappeared from school one day and I never heard about her again. I wonder where she is now. He was brilliant, ahead of his time, and the best friend I have ever experienced. He was tormented for being so smart. Our friendship was frowned upon because we were a boy and girl. He treated me like that didn't matter. 1956. When his family moved, I looked into their empty home and cried. He took his time talking. It was unnerving at first but then kind of cool. Like he actually thought about every response he made and how those responses could be perceived. People can be cruel and pushy though because he seemed slow. It could be pretty bad. Einstein did that. He used to be mocked for how long he took to respond. He was just going through every possibility. I wish my classmates knew that this quiet kid now visits me weekly at the restaurant I work for and orders as usual. He was the kid with a special instructor in each class, made fun of for it, among other things. Now he is independent and lives on his own. We bond over anime and Kingdom Hearts, which I tend to play the music of over the loudspeakers at work when he comes by. Go to time it so that as he settles his bill and gets up to leave, the loudspeaker belts out when you walk away. She was just shy because of her stutter. She didn't smell like they said and was insanely smart. She got married last Saturday and I was her mom. Whoa, this is so nice to hear. Wish you all the best. They're not up to something just because they're quiet. And yes, they are fine, so stop asking them if they're okay or mad at you. It's the quiet ones you gotta watch out for. Can't count the number of times I've heard that one. Nothing really. He was nice enough but even more strange staying home. His parents were clearly the issue but he was very different, and telling anyone what his home life was like would have been a curse. He had his own one-man post-punk band and was an absolute beast when he started singing and playing his baritone bass to a programmed drum machine. He had a voice like a bell and his lyrics were incredibly deep, layered and intelligent. Sadly he slashed his wrists in 1989. Marco, I still miss you dude. New. In 8th grade there was a new student who was extremely shy and sat next to me in history class. Little by little, I became one of the only people who he'd open up to. I learned that he had Asperger's and had recently transferred from a school where he was consistently bullied. I wish people knew how intelligent he was. He was one of the smartest people I had ever met. He told me he dreamt of working for NASA one day and how passionate he was about physics and math. We parted ways after middle school because we ended up going to different high schools. I am now in college and was curious on what he was doing one day, so I did a small Google search. He studies physics at MIT and lectures prospective students on differential equations. He's still one of the smartest people I have ever met. He was just really funny and held really brutally honest opinions about everyone and everything. He was just a chill guy tbh. I feel like I was the quiet kid, but kind of on accident. I wasn't shy or anything. I just didn't have a lot of friends, and in 8th grade I went through kind of a weirdo rocker phase, so I think I intimidated a lot of my classmates. I think I became the pet project of one of the nice cool girls because she became super friendly in our last hour. She noticed that I spent a lot of time writing and started asking about it. She thought it was fun and I was eventually comfortable enough to share some of it with her, but she never badgered me about it or made fun of it. I don't know if she ever went back to her friends and made fun of me. If she did, I never heard about it. It was a small school. I would have. Thanks, Allison. Allison is cool. All my homies appreciate Allison. I befriended a shy, hardworking, and really smart student named Elizabeth. Beth for short. After a year of hanging out and her coming over to my house, she finally invited me to hers. I was stunned by what I saw. She was absurdly rich and wealthy. Her house wasn't a house at all. It was a mansion and she lived in the wealthiest part of town. I was shocked and asked her why she was so quiet in school. She said, "I don't want to be friends with people who only see me as a free bank card." We're still friends to this day. He was strong and smart but shy. Once he lifted me and another classmate off the floor in a hug. He can still do it and he's good in class. Only he has a hard time talking because he resents being too thin and tall. Physical 1.80. I am shy, not very strong and smart, but I've gotten a lot better in the last few years. Like 2 years ago I maybe could do 1 pull-up. Now I do 2 often. Sometimes even 3. Once she got comfortable she was hilarious and had the most dirtiest minds with the most dirtiest jokes. It was awesome. I prefer quiet people. They're honest and upfront and no bulls and they're not trying to be anybody else but themselves. Honestly they're sometimes the best people. Doesn't judge, has cool hobbies. Don't need to be forced to be cool around them. Overall cool people. I was the quiet kid. I had 2 close friends. Around them, I was not quiet. LOL. I was the quiet kid. I would just let everyone know I'm enjoying the wallflower roll. No one messes with you. People just assume you are smart, and you can come to class stoned without anyone knowing. It's a good life. I married the quiet kid. He was the tall, dark and quiet type who happened to be a punk with a mohawk. A lot of people were curious about him, especially girls, but they didn't pursue him. I did. He's amazing and if they had put in some effort they would have discovered the shy guy was the smartest and funniest in the room. Now I get to spend my life with someone way out of my league. Cute. 3. I helped a scrawny quiet kid find his voice. He is now the biggest loudmouthed, braggart, butthole I know. 32 years later, we were also friends with the biggest loudmouthed, opinionated, class clown, who married an overbearing shrew and he turned into a mousy shell of his former self. Shakespeare doesn't have as many plot twists, about the same number of shrews though. When I see people like that, I never judge them, because I know people like them maybe has something in the past forced them to be like the quiet kid, or maybe that's just their personality. I was maybe the second most quiet kid. I tried talking to the most quiet kid. He was fine. Just a little less comfortable being included than I was. I learned later he was struggling with being gay and coming out to his straight friend. Once he was out of the closet, he became much more outgoing. Now I'm the most antisocial person I know. Bro, you just need to come out as gay to your friend and problem fixed. When I took a class called Marriage and Family in college, there was a painfully quiet and shy guy that always wore cool band t-shirts. I didn't sit next to him, but I would compliment his shirts when he walked by. It grew into a close friendship, and I wish that people realized how intelligent he actually is. That he loves playing guitar and drums and is really good, but he would never admit it. That he has a compassionate and gentle soul and is a hippie at heart. But you know what? I guess it doesn't matter that they don't really know him. It just means that since they never tried, they are unfortunate enough to not have him in their lives. We are married now, and about to celebrate our 3rd wedding anniversary. Sounds like the class worked. The quiet antisocial kid that looked like he'd go nowhere in life is actually a really successful YouTuber Twitch streamer now. I guess all of those years of focusing on gaming instead of homework paid off in the end for him. He's one of those streamers that people watch for the skill showcase rather than the personality, though looking at his oldest videos versus his newest ones, it looks like he's grown some entertainer skills too. I feel like this is kind of a trend. I was so anxious in school that I basically didn't speak, but I post a lot of stuff of myself online. Sewing stuff mostly. I don't think people would expect it because you normally associate them being quiet with not posting much on social media, etc. I'm one of the quiet kids. I can get along easily with anyone, but it's not easy when everybody either ignores you or talks above you. So as it went on, I started getting quieter, and now I am one of the kids who wants to get to know you, who wants to talk to you, and want to be friends. And I know everybody's names and who they are, but none of them know me. I know how you feel. You ignored her, but she was always watching and listening. She was a nice kid, but if she hadn't been, she would have had a mental list of everyone's private conversations. What else was she supposed to do with no one to talk to during lunch and recess? So she just watched and listened. It became a habit until she knew little secrets about almost everyone. She never told them unless it was relevant to the conversation, but I knew that she knew. One day she just disappeared from school and never came back, and I think I am the only one who remembers she ever existed. Whenever a quiet kid is at your lunch table and you're talking some smack about someone, they are like a radar with a 1 light year reach. I befriended someone in my class who were bullied. I also bullied him a bit before I got to know him. I felt sorry for him though. So since we were gonna be in the same class for 3 years, I started bringing him along to parties and gatherings with my friends. Helped him fit in more and get to know more people. He is one of my best friends now. Also one of those more trustworthy of my friends. He is still weird, but not in a negative way. Love that dude. Don't bully or judge people by appearance. All good for you, man. I was a quiet kid, but for some reason everyone tried to be my friend. I did have friends, but for whatever reason, in every class I didn't have friends, and there would be at least 3 or 4 people just talking to me in a friendly manner, not trying to make me do anything or say anything, but just because they think I have no friends, so they make me want to feel accepted by being friendly. Me, of course, being an extreme introvert except to my closest friends, would try and finish any conversation as quick as possible. My boyfriend is a quiet kid. We've been best friends for several years. He's the funniest guy I know. Used to be self-conscious, but with me is confident and happy. Extremely intelligent, independent and creative. Very loving towards me and animals. Will cry at puppy videos. He's adorable. Just needs more alone time to recharge. He's quiet because he prefers listening to others over talking a lot. Alone time to recharge. Yup, I can relate to this. Can I answer this as someone who used to be the quiet kid? I'd want other classmates to know that it's rude to request me to say things just for your amusement. I get it. I'm quiet. I've heard about it almost every day for years. That doesn't give you the right to treat me as a trained circus animal that does tricks. I can totally relate to this. And when you do finally say something, they act as if they've just witnessed one of the 7 wonders of the world. Sometimes they are the smartest MF in the room and have interesting hobbies. They are chill to hang out as you are not forced to keep a convo going. This is so relatable. I used to be the shyest kid in the school, still am, but I've gotten better at being nice to people. As long as you don't question my every action or try talking 24/7, I'm fine hanging out. I am the quiet kid, and I wish people knew that I'm not weird or gonna shoot up the school. Like I just had a hard life I like to read. That's basically it. Talking is overrated. This one C kept calling me school shooter, pee me off so much. I'm not even quiet because of home crap. I just can't talk without tripping over my own words. He was a good artist, but a little weird. He would draw pictures of mountain tops, with him on top, with a lemon yellow sun. Poor kid. His parents just didn't care and didn't give attention. I moved away after a while. I don't know whatever became of that kid. Maybe he finally spoke up. My quiet friend had probably genius level IQ. Everyone knew that though, so not much I wish other classmates knew. Fun fact, he had this rare condition of growing double teeth like a shark doesn't always regrows them. But he showed that to everyone, so also not a thing I wish they knew about him. They already did. It was cool though, you could see them growing in. Dang. How do you stay quiet with a condition like that? My brother was the quiet kid. After he died a couple years ago, me and my siblings got messages from people we didn't know he knew or were friends with, all talking about how hilarious they thought he was. He hated gossip and drama and just wanted people to be real and have a good time. He was a dime among nickels. I used to sit next to the quiet kid in science class and got pretty friendly with him. Turned out he was a pretty good skater, and this was in the early 2000s when it was super popular. He had a recording studio in his house. My friends and I were sitting in the back of the bus. Early 90s, and the quiet nerdy kid sat kind of near us. A group of like 6 of us all going over to one kid's house to shoot pool and smoke weed, and this kid sat near us, wearing headphones and ignoring us. So my boyfriend at the time asked what he's listening to, genuinely curious. This kid was so quiet we knew nothing about him, despite our school being pretty small. Quiet kid is like, "Oh, it's a song I made," and hands over the headphones. We couldn't believe it. Drums, guitar and singing. It was all Jim. He would record himself playing each part of the song he wrote and put it all together. The quiet kid ended up being a music genius, and his parents fully supported him. And since a couple of us were starting a band, we all became friends with the quiet kid. That he really was fully capable of doing something atrocious. There was a kid I basically grew up with but always avoided. Elementary school, middle school, and high school. He was picked on constantly. Obviously somewhere on the spectrum but undiagnosed. Everything he said was either creepy or unsettling, and he was basically the school punching bag. Anyway, I start feeling sorry for him in high school. I figured he'd grow out of it or the bullies would move away, but he just made new bullies. I start inviting him to things with us just to see if there was anything in there. There was, and it was freaking terrifying. I didn't know it at the time, but knowing what I know now, I can guarantee he was a grade A psychopath sociopath. Zero empathy for anyone. The amount of times he'd make some offhand remark about someone being better off dead was freaky. Not even just people that bullied him. That was understandable TBF. It was the ones he was just jealous of. Any jock on the planet. The cheerleaders. The popular fashion kids. Even his fellow anime nerds that could draw well. I could almost see the rage bubbling in his eyes when I mentioned my friend who was one of those popular anime artists at the school. Anyway, we invite him to a party and everyone is completely smashed. He just straight up confesses that he was planning to massacre everyone back in middle school but didn't have access to guns back then, and also admit that us inviting him along on stuff eased some of the tension and the violent part of his brain. I don't know if he was just being an edgy little crap or if he was actually being real, but I don't doubt for a second that he was capable of it. This was senior year and we really didn't want to start more trouble for him, so we didn't tell anyone, figuring we'd just keep him under control until we graduated. Looking back, I really wish we did. He didn't get any less freaky as the year went on. She was very smart, confident in herself, and generally a great person. She just doesn't like small talk or talking to people she already knows doesn't like or respect her. I befriended a very quiet kid who I believe was extremely socially awkward and a bit of an introvert. I picked him up to grab a bite one day and his mother wanted to speak to me to make sure I was legit. We were 23 at the time. During dinner, he'd vocalize things most people wouldn't say. "Why are you shaking your leg? Why do you have moles on your face? Why do you bite your nails?" Ultimately, I couldn't sustain the relationship because this person became incredibly clingy and wanted to hang out more often and would send me lots of messages and without filter say things like, "Are you not getting my messages and I see you are online? Please respond." I'm rambling, but I befriended the quiet kid in college, treated him with decency, and ultimately felt like it was draining and a lot of work being his friend. He almost felt like a project. Someone I needed to teach social skills, interactions, and common knowledge. A task too big for me to surmount. Honestly, I grew up being picked on because of my speech impediment problems like stuttering and pronouncing any word with R in it was a freaking nightmare. My travel soccer team was pretty brutal to me because I wasn't the best and well my speech sucked. Anyways, those shots on my soccer team gave me the best lesson in life I could have ever be given in. I knew what it felt like to be picked on, ostracized, and humiliated. Those feelings freaking sucked as a kid. It sucked so much that I unconsciously decided to never make anyone else feel that way. It wasn't till later in life I made the connection of why I am the way I am as a person. Of course there's other factors like my family, some church, and my friends. But yeah, I knew what it felt like to be the last one picked. I knew what it felt like to be alone in a room full of people. I knew what it felt like to be mocked and laughed at all because of the buttholes I played soccer with. I still question till this day if I came across a burning car and my soccer team was in it, would I save them? Anyways, my high school was decently large, 2,000-ish kids. There wasn't anyone I wouldn't say hello to or engage with. If I saw someone who looked like they were going through the crap I went through, I made it a point to just say hello, hey, how are you? Now I didn't become best friends with them, but I recognized them and continued to just say, hey, how are you doing? By the time high school came around, I had a lot more confidence in myself. I was a much better soccer player and had an extremely tight-knit group of best friends. Regardless if you were white, black, Mexican, gay, man, female, I didn't care. I made a couple friends in a couple of loosely associated gangs that we had in and around where we lived just because I said sup man, you all good. Combine that with a sincere tone of hey, I see you and I hear you made all the difference. As humans we thrive, literally and chemically in our brains, off of interactions with other people. I guess I made a decent enough impression on people because they elected me for a bunch of crap throughout high school. My senior superlative was most friendliest. I know grammar. I live in a smallish city nowadays and I don't do this every time, but when I see a homeless person asking for money, I make it a point to actually have an interaction with them. Hey, what's your name? Where you from? Alright, now stay safe out here, man. I'd like to think the couple extra minutes I give to people makes a difference, but I don't know. So to answer your question, OP, I wished people just knew the quiet kids were just like everyone else, and I wish everyone knew what it felt like to be the quiet kid. So I had this kid at school with no friends. I befriended him and he helped me make a Roblox game and Java games. Those games are lost though. BTW, he was a quiet kid. I befriended the quiet kid in high school, and if I could say one thing to my former classmates, it would be that no, he was not planning to shoot up the school. It's ridiculous that they were so concerned that he'd shoot everyone as revenge for being bullied, but they kept bullying him anyway. He didn't want to hurt anyone. He just wanted people at school and at home to treat him better. That kid's quiet because trying to befriend others or fit in beforehand didn't work. There is no magic key, and sometimes the friends they had just pitted them. I'm getting tired of this quiet kid meme in general. Being quiet doesn't mean they are snobby or judging you. My friend who was quiet was often perceived this way but had intense social anxiety and was used to being spoken over. Outside of school she lit up and was much more comfortable sharing. He was so incredibly kind, but no one gave him a chance. He killed himself in 11th grade. No one noticed. The school didn't commemorate him. He deserved to live. A few weeks later, a very popular bully butthole jerk died suddenly. It was school news. They announced it over an intercom and sent grief counselors across the school during the announcement. Many of us were victim to this bully, including dead friend. He deserved to live. That's what I want everyone to know. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video. Bye for now.